He's going to look for one! He's going to pass them both on the wet part of the racetrack.
Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of the 2018 GPVWC Formula Challenge Championship. Today we are at Shanghai International Circuit in Shanghai, obviously, and we are going to get 2 exciting races of Formula Challenge action with your commentator, me, Joshua Jones, and alongside me I have a Menno Klont. Well, I might have a Menno Klont. I also have an Argo Tedar as a cameraman. So we are going to be taking you through the action today from the GPVWC Formula Challenge Championship. Apparently we don't have a Menno Klont yet, but I'm pretty sure that we will have one. So whenever Menno pops in,
yes,
I'm
sure there actually. Sorry.
Oh, hello Menno.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm a bit of a rookie in Discord. So I thought by muting myself, but I muted more actually. So yeah, we're there. So
okay, that's fine.
In qualifying and yes.
Right,
go.
So we're in a qualifying session at the minute. We're seeing the first few laps being put in. It's Adrian Campfield at the top of the order so far, followed by Chris Shepherd and Konrad Zarebiec. Of course, Zarebiec, a new driver for today, didn't make it out last time, and that could actually be a big advantage for him, because that means that he hasn't got any penalties. And talking of penalties, I shall now read out to you the insane penalty list that we have from round 1. So, starting with a back of the grid penalty for this round, after exceeding track limits in qualifying, we have Jan Vosnica, Ivan Leonov, Sandeep Choda, Adrian Campfield, Wesley Stefano, Mark Veit, Valent Hammer, Miguel de los Rios, Pavel Andrzejewski, Dominic Foster, Tom Davison, Mateusz Siabinski, Rano Muru, Harry Graham, Dan Kell, and Cameron Roger. And then further penalties for dangerous driving in the 2 races. We have Miguel de los Rios, Ivan Leonov again, Valent Hammer, Jan Vosnica, Chris Shepherd, Valent Hammer, Adrian Campfield, Luke Maguire, Rano Muru, Dominic Foster, and that's the lot. So, as you can tell, there's a lot of penalties here today. Many of them back of the grid penalties, which means that there's effectively going to be two different qualifying sessions going on at the moment. Of course, you've got the quali for pole position, and also the qualifying positions for the back of the grid. So, of course, you can't all have 20 drivers or so starting from the same grid position at the back of the grid. So, of course, the drivers with the back of the grid penalties will be sorted out in terms of their order, in terms of where they actually finish in this qualifying session here. And really, after this session, it's going to take a very long time to piece together who's actually got which position. But anyway, let's watch this session. So far, we're being led by Adrian Campfield. He, I believe, is 4th in the championship after a second place finish in race 1 last time out, but then a disappointing non-points finish in race 2. In fact, let's have a look at the championship. At the top of the order, with 45 points, we have Chris Butcher after a double podium last time out, 1st in race 1, 2nd in race 2. Second, we have Osvaldo Angeloni, 9 points behind. He scored a 5th in race 1 and 1st in race 2. Philip Koenig got a double podium, 3rd in both races. And then 4th in the championship. I've already read out Adrian Campfield. And following them are Patrick Vonnemiller, Mark Veit, Balint Hammer, James Early, Chris Shepherd and Michal Galka to round out the top 10. Although I don't believe Galka is racing today. I believe that he has been replaced at the IDOS racing team, although I'll look through the order and confirm that. In fact, yes, he has. Ed Williams is here rather than Michal Galka. I also don't see the other... Oh, I do see the other IDOS car of Cameron Rogers. So obviously both the IDOS is in today. And actually we have a good packed field of 31 drivers. So that's a decent sized field. A couple of new drivers. I don't recognise Konrad Zarebiec. Menno, as the team boss of the GPVWC Academy, can you explain some of the changes that have happened within your team?
Well, yeah, I can tell that actually. The Academy for today is running with one car. That's why we've got 31 instead of 32. There was quite a last-minute change at Academy, where one of the other guys could leave to another team just before the race for a long-term deal. That was Mark Veit, who looks like he's on a long-term deal at Cenobites. So yeah, he's going to drive there after already having been driving there for Australia. It looked like he was missing out on a seat here in China. That's why Academy hired him, because he was in, I believe, the 5th place in the standings, Mark Veit. And yeah, well, now he's gone again, but now with a long-term deal at an FC team. So it's interesting. So that's what Academy does, and yeah, replacing some talented guys in, and yeah. The intention actually is that other teams should steal them away. Of course, yeah, it's a bit sad for Academy, but that's how it works. If you like a driver, you need a good driver. Yeah, you can look at Academy. You can always inform, like, I want to hire a driver for longer. What can I do? Can I get a driver from Academy? And yeah, that's how it went actually, Joshua.
Very good. Oh, I can see that Chris Shepherd's on a quicker lap here. Yeah, good update. The Academy team, of course, a very good idea, and it's good to see that a couple of drivers are being moved on from that. Oh, Chris Shepherd just misses out on pole there. He has got a back of the grid penalty anyway, so this won't affect the actual order, although I don't know if Adrian Campfield does, but Shepherd off pole by 0.004, 4 thousandths of a second. Now, I'm going to just quickly search up whether Campfield has a penalty here. It would be impossible for me to remember. Oh, he does. It's a 20-slot grid penalty, so he's not going to be starting right from the back, but he will be starting well further. Oh, and he also has a back of the grid penalty, so never mind. Neither of these guys up front are actually competing for pole. Even Leonov, I know, has some sort of penalty. Is it a back of the grid? I said yes, it is. I said it would be difficult to work out who's actually on pole. What about Osvaldo Angeloni? Let's see. No, Osvaldo currently, despite being in 4th position, has provisional pole. So good driving from Angeloni at this round, and also the last, because remember that the reason so many drivers have back of the grid penalties from last time out is because no one really was respecting the track limits in qualifying. So good to see that that happened there. I mean, that didn't happen there for him, rather. Hello to everyone on the live streams. We are we are live on 2 separate streams today. The SimNews.TV channel and the GPVWC Sim Racing channel are both live. What?
Sandeep Chota to P3.
Oh, good. Actually, is Sandeep Chota one of the drivers with a penalty? Yes. So that's not actually as significant as it looks, I'm afraid. Angeloni demotes him now, and even Leonov goes to 2nd, although, again, back of the grid penalty. Who's going to be on the front row of the grid? It looks as if it's going to be your driver, Konrad Zarebiec, at this point. Oh, Chris Butcher puts his car 5th. I'm pretty sure Chris Butcher does not have a penalty. So Chris Butcher, of course, who was imperious last time out, puts his car to 5th place, but effectively 2nd. Yes. So it looks like it's going to be the top 2 in the championship on the front row of the grid, despite not actually qualifying that close to the front row of the grid at all. But anyway, hello to the Downforce Racing team on the GPVWC YouTube stream. They say our boys are in ship shape, and our boys are ship shape, and Bristol Fashion tonight. Harry Graham and Tom Davison will be competing for points. Now that's great to hear, and I remember in the practice session I saw coming into this, they were actually first and second for a long time. They are now 15th and 16th, and unfortunately both have back of the grid penalties. However, so does pretty much the rest of the field. So definitely still points are possible for them, and we'll see what sort of pace they have for the remainder of the weekend. Also, another driver to look out for is Ross Woodford, because he wasn't here for the first round, so he does not have a back of the grid penalty. And, well, we are yet to see what he can pull out of the bag, so we'll see.
Actually, Ross looks pretty fast. He was only 6 tenths behind, and of course, he's now in P11 with that. But if you just look at how close it actually is, 6 tenths. You know what 6 tenths is? I mean, it's crazy. We've got the top 15 nearly within a second, and we still have improvement. So, yeah, that Ross now is P11 is actually pretty good.
Well, I think he's effectively P4 or P5 with all of the penalties. Possibly even P3, although I don't think that David Yunt has a penalty. So, well, I'm not entirely sure what the order actually is with all of these penalties. I'm kind of switching back and forth between the real timing and the penalty screen just to see if I can piece together what positions they're all going to be starting from. But whatever the case, I know that the front row of the grid so far is Angeloni. Well, no, it was Angeloni Zarebius, but now you've got Dabrowski and Hammer between them. I don't know who's got a penalty out of those two. I'm pretty sure Hammer does.
Yeah.
In fact,
Hammer,
I think they both do.
But Butcher doesn't. So I think it would be Angeloni, Butcher on the front row for now. If you look at the clean list, but of course a lot can change.
Dabrowski doesn't. So Dabrowski doesn't. He will be starting from second as they are standing. But, of course, there's still time to be found. There's 3 drivers within a tenth of a second of each other at the top of the order. Although, of course, the 2 Stax Racing cars who are currently locking at the front row of the grid are not going to be starting from the front row of the grid.
Well, Mark 5 just jumps to P13. We now have got nearly 16 people within a second. It's getting so close. It's amazing, actually. How fast all these people go. Yeah.
Great to see sessions this close, as they always are. We have 16 drivers within a second of each other, as I said, or as you said, rather. That's pretty much GT car style, and that's always good to see. Chris Shepherd sets a quick second sector, so he's on a good lap. He's going for pole, sort of, but not effectively, so we'll see what he can do. Of course, his best so far is only 4 thousandths of his teammate. And he does put it at the top by 3 tenths. That's a very quick lap from Shepherd, but unfortunately that's only going to put him about, well, it's not going to put him at the front of the order, so that's a disappointing...
5 seconds to go before the session at least runs out, so everybody can still start a lap, and now people are starting their final lap, of course. That's very interesting. Of course, Chris Shepherd will be quite high up the order. Because he has a penalty, but he of course will.
Because so many people do.
So he will still be, I think, halfway the field. So that's still pretty decent. But yeah, it's difficult for us to see who's actually is where.
Now the easy thing to note is the battle between Shepherd and Campfield at the front of the order. However, that's not the battle we should actually be watching, because pole at the moment is actually being held by 3rd place Osvaldo Angeloni, and second, I think, is Matthias Dabrowski. So it's all between, although Dabrowski's in the pits, so he's not going to go any quicker. Brambilla, Hammer and Zarebic are also in the pits. David Yunt, I don't think, has a penalty, so Yunt in 11th might be our next driver on track. In terms of the actual order, but we'll see. I'll just check quickly whether Yunt does have a penalty or not. I'm doing a lot of Control F.
Control F? Explain.
Yeah, control find, as in I'm trying to find people's names on the penalty list. Just insert a random driver here and work out whether they've got a penalty or not. Most of them do. Right. Now let's watch a couple of laps coming to the end here. David Yunt is on a quick one, so I believe he's going to go quicker with this lap. Where does that put him? Oh, fourth. That's a good lap. And of course, he does not have a penalty, so that's pole. That's pole for no, it isn't, because Chris Butcher's just gone faster.
Oh,
so Butcher,
yes,
Butcher at the top of the order, and it's going to be a red arrow, 1-2 on the grid at the last moment. It looked as if Angeloni was going to get the pole, and now just at the last moment, red arrow have completely swamped him, and it's Chris Butcher at the top of the order, followed by David Yunt, only a hundredth of a second behind, and they're third and fourth. So in the actual order, it's Shepherd, Campfield, Butcher, Yunt, and Angeloni. But on the grid, it's going to be Butcher, Yunt, Angeloni, and then whatever the hecking order the rest of them are in.
Yeah, actually, it's yeah. Did Dabrowski have a penalty? I don't believe so. So you'll be quite high up the grid. So the Beards will be around there. There's about. Wow. Be very, very interesting, of course.
Well, it certainly will be, because, of course, we are going to have the most muddled up grid in sim racing history here. Matthew Allington types, doesn't Jeff have a back of the grid penalty himself? Which Jeff's this? Oh, they're talking about the Super League race. I was wondering. Yeah, I think they mean Jeff Fournier, which I'm not sure about, but I'm just getting confused by reading about two separate races at the same time. But anyway, apparently we've got a slightly low frame rate on the stream. I hope that is not ruining the quality for anyone. But we'll yeah, hopefully that's not too bad. Anyway, we're just going for a brief warm-up session now, and trying to piece together what the order actually is for this race, and then we are going to head towards our race 1 of 2. Of course, race 1 is going to be just as long as race 2. There's no sort of mandatory pit stop for race 1 like we see in some other series, and really it's just going to be a straight fight for it, I expect. So it's going to be an interesting one. Menno, what are your bold predictions for this race? What sort of things should we look out for?
You want predictions from me? Oh, that's actually okay.
Yeah, we cursed enough people last time, right? Let's curse some more. It shouldn't.
Let's curse some more. Well,
can't do any more damage.
Well, what I'm wondering, and I'm currently looking out of the commentary booth, if it's going to rain. It doesn't look like it. There was a bit of a chance on rain I heard earlier, but there's no rain. What will happen? Yeah, in race 1. What do we expect? I think it will be a very interesting start with that great first corner. You can drive a lot of alternative lines, and I think you will see a lot of overtaking there, and a little bit of chaos. What I'm most worried about is the front tires. The front tires are having a really bad time. And
yes.
I expect the last 2 or 3 laps of the race, people will run out of tires. Actually, some people will, and then they will lose 3-4 seconds a lap. So it's actually, yeah, you need to be very careful to not stress the tires too much in the beginning, because in the end you will not have any tires left, or you can just make a pit stop. But of course, if you make a pit stop, you lose a lot of time as well. So I hope for all the people that they keep their fronts good, and we shall see if that will happen. But yeah, I fear some will have a problem after I think 12 laps. They will just drop down in performance, and the car will not turn anymore. So yeah,
I was going to say exactly the same thing about the tyres. If you look at the actual nature of the circuit, we've got so many fast corners, so many corners that you're constantly steering for. Like, for example, turn 1, and even turn 2, you could say is one of those. Although that's much slower and much tighter. And then there's one leading onto the straight towards the end of the lap as well that just seems to go on and on and on. And surely the tyres are a big issue. I was speaking to some of the guys before the race who were saying that they really couldn't get the tyres to work over a long enough period of time. So I suggested that they reduce the camber slightly, and they're trialing that. So that's a racer's trick there, which could be used, but still it's going to be a very difficult one, and it's definitely going to take skilled drivers to maintain the tyres while still pushing to the limit. And I'm expecting a couple of drivers to come through from the back as well, because of course we've got so many penalties today that so many drivers are going to be out of position. There's really going to be a sort out at the start. It's going to be like seeing a reverse grid, really. It's sort of going to be like seeing a reverse grid like we get in race 2. And of course the Stax Racing guys who locked out the front row of the grid are actually going to be starting something like 15th and 16th, and as a result I'm sure we're going to see those guys really pushing for it at the start, and coming through the order, and for Chris Butcher to continue his podium streak, of which he's got 2 so far, it's going to be a real tough task.
Agreed. Because of course he was pretty dominant in Australia. It doesn't mean he will be again dominant here. Of course, qualifying was pretty good, but of course races are a little bit different. It's interesting, but also it's interesting that from the 16 teams currently in the Formula Challenge, we've got 2 teams without points. Those are Downforce Racing and CM Tech. So of course we hope the best for those teams, that they can get off the 0 and they can just go up. And well, with their driver lineups, they at least should be able to get some points today. For the rest, of course, every team looks to have a decent pace, so it's very exciting what will happen. And yeah, I think it will be interesting who will get pole for race 2 actually as well, because that will be a number between 10 and 15, and yeah, it's a random number, so everybody could get it, and maybe that will be a key to a nice to get a nice race 2. So it will be very interesting.
To be honest, this is pretty much like that grid anyway. I mean, do you remember a few years ago where Bernie Eccleston was talking about implementing lottery qualifying into Formula 1?
Yeah.
I think we've pretty much just seen that in effect.
Yeah, but if you have some faster guys having had a good lottery ticket, that they will have a lot of extra from that. And I think one of those guys could potentially be Conrad Serebiets, who's driving at Academy, because he wasn't there 2 weeks ago, and now he can start from, I believe, P5, P6 without any penalty, so he's free to race. So interesting.
What he can do. Something like P4, yeah.
But also, what was his name? Ross
Woodward.
Ross Woodward.
No, Woodford.
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 Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, all those names. Oh my.
I just knew it Ross Woodward from somewhere else, so I got confused there. But yeah, it's Ross Woodford. That's going to really confuse me.
But Woodford actually looked pretty quick as well. So I think we've got 15, 16 people who are quite close to each other, at least within a second. If one of those guys maybe is the slower one on track but can save the tires, in the end, they can still get a very good position. So to coming back on the tires, you can have some people that are outside the top 10, and with 2-3 laps to go, then they have pace left and they will go from P11 to P8. It's all possible. Depends on how the tires will last. And I think we will also see people outside the top 16 and get into the top 15 in the end. So tires will be critical to get back on that, and will be interesting if the newer drivers, so the drivers that make their debut, at least for this season here, if they can get the tires well, or that you have people that already have driven the race in Australia, that they have just that little bit more feeling of the tires. That would be interesting if people actually learned from Australia.
Absolutely, and well, we'll see. Of course, there's no guarantee that we're not going to get a mass of penalties after this round for qualifying as well. But as you said, hopefully people learn from their Australian mistakes. But anyway, we'll soon see, I suppose.
Well, I believe you're going offline for a moment with the stream.
All right.
Or maybe not. I'm looking at my cameraman.
Well, I don't know whether we've just gone offline or not. If we haven't,
online.
I think if we're still online, okay. I think we might be about to go offline and restart the stream to fix some of the buffering issues we're having. So if you suddenly lose the stream, then that's what it's going to be. The finishing order of the race or anything like that. This is just an opportunity for the drivers to get used to their cars on race fuel for one last time before the race. Just feel how the car is going to feel at the start of the race. Assess what the grip's like. Of course, you can do that on the formation lap, but you don't really get so much of a sight of the track when you're going that slowly. So this is the driver's last real chance to experience the track on this setup. Well, the setup's locked after qualifying, but this fuel load between the race and between qualifying and the race. So that's what these drivers are doing now, just discussing the things that are going to happen in the race as well, and giving predictions. Sandeep Choda says one-stop strategy for the win, which is quite humorous, seeing as we're not expecting any pit stops today. But with the tyre wear that some of these guys are getting, I'm afraid we might have a pit stop or two. Chris Shepherd says he's counted about 16 or 17 back of the grid penalties.
Yeah.
14. There we go. 14 people tonight have back of the grid penalties. That's ridiculous.
14. So 14 out of 31. Oh my.
That's almost half the field.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's almost half the field. And then we need to see what the running order of all the back to grids is. Oh my god.
To be honest, I really like the way the DC's done this, DC being the race control. Because the thing is, it's very easy when so many drivers commit the same offence, just sort of sit back and say, well, everyone's doing it, go ahead. The kind of Max Verstappen approach to it. And I don't like that. I think that if there's a rule there, it should be stuck to. And I like the way that the DC is implementing this and being properly consistent about it. We need this consistency in some of the higher echelons of motorsport. And this is definitely how you crack the problem. So very, very good to see. And let's face it, it's going to give us an exciting race today with such a muddled up grid.
True. And we're about to go to the race session. So we're just looking at when that will happen. But 31 drivers, that's actually pretty decent, Josh. I mean, that's nearly a full grid.
Yeah, I think one driver more is the maximum, and that's the driver that you unfortunately don't have today. But still, pretty much a full grid, so that's good to see. And now the drivers have been called to the grid, so we are just waiting for the drivers to get to the grid, and then in about 40 seconds we are going to go for a formation lap, and that is just for the drivers to warm up the tyres, hopefully not shred them like some of these drivers are saying they will. Well, we'll see how this race goes after that. Of course, then they're going to line up on this start grid in very much the way you see them doing now. The lights that you see at the front of the field are going to come on, the 5 red lights, and when those go out, the race will be underway, and it'll be a mad dash into the first couple of corners to gain track position and see who gets a good start, etc. I'm afraid... Oh, no, I was about to say I'm afraid we still have a few drivers in the pits who haven't made it out, but that's not true. Everyone is on track, so that's good to see. And we have the Red Arrow cars lining up the front of the field. Technically, that... Well, we were expecting a front row lockout from a team, but of course a different team to this. It was actually the Stax Racing cars that locked out the front row of the grid in terms of the actual qualifying pace, but because of the penalties, it's going to be Stax starting from the front of the grid. So Chris Butcher takes pole, followed by David Junt, Osvaldo Angeloni, Matthias Dabrowski, Daniele Brambilla, Konrad Zarebiec, Ross Woodford, Thomas Andriama Rasoa, James Early, Philip Koenig, starting third in the championship, so it's a shame to see him that far down. Matthew Klipp, Patrick Vonnemuller, Stefan McCready, Kevin Peters, Ben Willis, Brett Metcalf, Ed Williams, and now we see the first of our back of the grid penalties. Chris Shepherd, Sandeep Choda, Mark Veit. These penalties are muddled up. I don't know who's... Okay. Mark Veit, Miguel de los Rios, Matthias Siabinski, Harry Graham, and Tom Davison. So the two downforce cars, who interestingly are going around in the wrong order on this formation lap. But of course, you don't get a penalty in this like you might in reality, so that's good. Also in the wrong order are Cameron Roger and Wesley Stefano. They are being followed by Balint Hammer and Adrian Campfield, Dominic Foster, Rano Muru, and Ivan Leonov. And that's the pack for this field.
Interesting field. So yeah, the two red arrows ahead. I mean, even are the silver arrows that are leading a race, then it will be the red arrows, of course. So yeah, Butcher the favorite, I guess so. He's the championship leader, and now he's on pole again. Let's see if he can jump away at the start from Junt. Maybe Junt will follow him, or maybe Junt is a little bit slower on pace. We shall see. Maybe Junt will just keep the gap between him and Butcher and just work his tires, which I think David Junt will keep his tires good until the end. I think he can do pretty well, and let's see how the rest will do, Joshua.
Well, I tell you, whatever happens, it's been a very good day so far for Red Archer. This is exactly why they say that being a clean driver wins championships, because let's face it, Chris Butcher wasn't the quickest today. He qualified third on the grid, but because he didn't make a mistake 2 weeks ago, he's being put on the front row of the grid, and in fact the front position of the grid today. So that's just the sort of thing you need to do for this championship, and our championship favourite is on pole. Now, Ivan Leonov lines up at the back of the grid, and we can wait for the lights now. Everyone is in position, and when the lights start to come on, that is when the engine notes will rise, and we can await the start of the race. It's a long hold. They're not coming on yet, so obviously someone's still out of position. Now they're coming on. 5 lights. Go! The race is underway, and it's a slightly delayed getaway from Chris Butcher, but it's a better start than the guys behind. David Junt's had a very bad start. Matthias Dabrowski's going up the inside. He has P2. So Dabrowski has P2. Chris Butcher leads. And then it's Junt and Angeloni and Zarebiec. And I think that all of the top guys are through safely at least. In fact, everyone's through safely. So that's good to see as we head out now through turn 3. And Butcher's built out a good lead. Watch Junt trying to get it back from Dabrowski as we head towards turn 2. He's not going to be close enough. What about Angeloni? I think our first move is going to come between Andrea Maharasa and Early. Those two teammates, of course, and that was certainly looking very, very close. Running wide is Philip Koenig. He's lost several places at the start. That's very bad for the person running third in the championship. Watch Ed Williams trying to go around the outside. Of course, doesn't get the run for that. And now Kevin Peters, Koenig's teammate, is very close to him as well. Ross Woodford's made up a couple of positions. He's in P7. Slipstreaming Daniele Brambilla might go for the move. No, not close enough. It looked as if he was getting ready to pull out of the slipstream. Couple of guys running wide. No, that was lag. And now Shepherd gets Peters. So Shepherd passes Peters for the final points paying position in 15.
But a great start. Yeah, a great start from Dabrowski. He was really good underway, and now he's in P2. What a start he had. And Junt, yeah, he can't keep that close to Dabrowski. So interesting what will happen in the upcoming laps. Well, Osvaldo is having a little bit of a look on David Jones. Interesting,
Well,
but no drama, no big drama, I believe.
Well, I was going to say a couple of guys have been shuffled to the back of the order. Hammer and Graham are behind where they should be in terms of the order. They've been dropped to the back a bit, so there may have been a slight off or a slight bit of contact there. But whatever the case, a very, very clean first lap for a field of 31 cars, and that's great to see. And it's Butcher leading from Dabrowski, Yunt, Angeloni, Serebic, Brambilla, Woodford, Wanamula, Clip, and Andrea Harrisser. Those are our top 10 on this opening lap of the race. Of course, anything can still change here. They are still very, very close, with the entire field still separated by less than 20 seconds.
It's interesting. And Ross Woodford had a very good start, and now he's in P7. So he shows he's got a lot of skill, and he's just following Daniela Brambilla. He's actually, well, pretty close, but not close enough. Of course, we need to wait a few laps before we have got DRS. And then it will be interesting if people can at least defend a bit on the straights, or that they will just be, like eaten alive. Will be very interesting, actually.
It's always very interesting early on in the race with DRS because, of course, pretty much everyone except the leader gets it. So you often get a big chain of cars all catching each other, and you get a real accordion effect mid-straight, which we never used to witness in the old days. So we'll see how that happens. Now, down the back straight, who's going to get whose slipstream this time and possibly go for a move into the hairpin? I think they're all being rather reserved on these opening laps because they know they need to keep these tyres for the rest of the race. And if they do make any sort of error, they're going to completely eat them. Koenig is trying to make up a place on Shepherd here. Actually, I think Koenig and Shepherd have both passed Chodo, who's had a bad start, I'm afraid. I think that's how it's happened anyway. But looks as if Shepherd's going to be 12th after that, and Koenig 13th. Choda goes to the inside for the next corner on Philip Koenig. He is going for 13th position, and looks as if he's going to get it. He does. Does he? Koenig's still got the overlap, but Choda does defend the inside, so Choda still in 13th position there, and everything is okay still. Stefan McCready's been shuffled to the back a bit, but it still appears to be very, very clean. And I don't want to say that too many times because I know I'll curse it at this rate, but
Of course.
but it has been. And Dabrowski, I think, is now catching Butcher at the front. So Butcher, our race leader, has to start thinking about his mirrors because he'll be able to see Matthias Dabrowski, who has split the two red arrow cars rather, and is approaching quickly in his WSL Racing Team car.
Yes.
And the gap is less than half a second apart, so he's really got the slipstream this time round as we're heading down the back straight.
He's waiting for DRS, but he doesn't
have
it.
He has the DRS. Now, let's watch Dabrowski. This is the first time he's had DRS on Chris Butcher, and will he go for the inside line? Well, he's pulled out slightly early there, and he doesn't get alongside him, but he's going to have plenty more opportunities for the remainder of this race, I'm sure.
Oh, that was interesting. Oh, a mistake from Butcher.
That is a mistake from Butcher. He runs wide. Now let's watch Dabrowski, who's back in the slipstream and back very close to the rear of Butcher. He's going to pull to the outside line of turn 1 and try to hold it round there. Butcher does a good job of defending it after his mistake, and Dabrowski still not allowed the inside. Butcher parks it on the line exactly where he needs to put it, and Dabrowski has not been able to get alongside him again. But he's going to get a good run out of this corner, and he'll be in the slipstream again. He needs to be close to him for this whole middle sector to be in with in the DRS detection zone for when we head down the straight.
Mistake from Yunt.
And Angeloni is alongside Yunt now. This is third position, so Angeloni going around the outside, but has to back out of that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, true. The top 5 was really close, and they're still really close. So the mistake from Butcher made the whole top 5 getting closer. But for now, it looks like Butcher has a little bit of breathing space.
Oh, now look at Zerebiec up the inside of Angeloni. That's really split it, and they bang wheels as Zerebiec is forced wide by Angeloni. That's defensive driving there from Angeloni, and Serebiec has to try something different now. Of course, there's going to be all sorts of slipstreaming going on down this back straight. Many drivers with the DRS again, and still.
Oh, Serebiec.
Yep, Serebiec up the inside, and gets it. More contact there, but Serebiec puts his car on the shorter line and gets the drive through the corner. And now Serebiec is up to 4th, ahead of our 2nd place championship driver, who's gone. Osvaldo Angeloni is in the pits. Now that's not expected. We're not expecting any sort of pit stop today. So Angeloni pitting, that's not expected. But he's certainly in, and possibly feeling like no one can.
He got a drive-through.
It's a drive-through. He's gone straight through. That would have been a jump start, I can guarantee. So a drive-through for Osvaldo Angeloni, probably because of a jump start, put him down into 19th position. I was wondering, because the thing is, we weren't expecting any sort of stop go today. He didn't appear, or any sort of pit stop today. He didn't appear to have any damage. So there was something weird going on, and it turned out it was a drive-through penalty for Osvaldo Angeloni.
But he's still in P19, I believe, so he can get back into the points and even get a nice starting position for race 2. The race is still long. Let's see what will happen. Well, I see Chris Shepard attacking Matthew Clip. Under braking, he's waiting.
These two, of course, fighting over 8th position, and now Clip has to park it on the inside line, as he does in the opening part of the corner. He's defenceless on the exit here. Shepard gets a brilliant run out of the corner. He's going to be alongside him down this entire straight, and he's going to have the DRS. And I don't know whether...
Look at Sandeep as well. Sandeep on Thomas Mihari Soa. Oh, wow. And he's passed. Sandeep's passed for P10.
That's 10th for... Oh, Sandeep, who gets a big wiggle on as he puts the power down on the exit of the hairpin there, but keeps the position. But that was very close as well. Ross Woodford right on the rear of Daniele Brambilla, and those two... Well, looks like there might be a change there soon. We'll have to see. Of course, now, after that sort out with Angeloni's pit stop, that promotes Serebia into to 4th, of course, and then Brambilla into 5th, but Woodford is really going for that. And the leaders are very close again. In fact, we now have the top 3 drivers separated by just 0.6 of a second, and that is barely enough time to blink.
Yes, it looks really good. And look at numbers 5 and number 10. That's Brambilla and Shrodha. And they both look so good in this race, and they both are for CM Tech, who's still on 0 points. So it will be very interesting if they can get the team of the 0, and then they will really get a lot of points actually if they can finish like this.
They had the most disappointing round last time out because they were looking so good in qualifying. Sandeep Choda running 2nd right at the start of race 1 last time out. And then, of course,
great exit for Dabrowski. Great exit for Dabrowski.
I'll come back to that. Look at this. As Dabrowski goes to the outside, Dabrowski goes to the outside of Chris Butcher, and Yunt gets a very late braking, almost goes into the back of him. But they maintain the same order there, as Dabrowski doesn't quite get himself past Chris Butcher. He had the outside line for the corner, the longer line. There was no way he was going round him. But they're going to be pretty much nose to tail as we head down the straight again, although not close enough.
Yes, and something tells me that the top 2 are at least using a bit too much tires, but I'm not sure, but we shall see later.
Oh, I trust their judgment. Look at Chris Butcher, he's gone very wide there. Dabrowski took a look. I think that might have been strategic from Butcher actually to stop Dabrowski from getting the slipstream, kind of get him alongside early and guarantee the outside line. Now they banged wheels, and Dabrowski's dropped back 2 places now. He does 2 places behind both Serebiec and Yunt, and it's now a red arrow 1-2 again. But look at Dabrowski trying to come back at Serebiec, possibly tried to hold it on the outside, just got kind of clonked by well, by the rear wheel of Butcher out front. I don't think any real foul was committed there, but it was very unfortunate and very, very close. Could have been a lot worse. Brambilla and Woodford are pretty much side by side through turn 13 now at the top of the course, and Woodford's going to be alongside Brambilla as we head down the straight. I'm also going to keep an eye on the cars in front of them, as again, well, now Zarebiec is in the slipstream of Yunt, pokes to the outside line. This is not going to be advantageous to him. It's the inside you need there. Whoa, Dabrowski breaks late again, almost goes into the back of Zarebiec. That is a very, very scary corner. And look at Woodford. He is ahead of Brambilla.
Woodford. He is driving an amazing race. Of course, we look at the top 4, but the number 5, Ross Woodford, is driving a really good race. He shows like he's got a tremendous amount of talent. And if he could get it in P5, it will be a really good position, of course, for the team.
Of course, this being Woodford's first race in the series. We didn't see him in race 1. That car was taken by. I'm just waiting for everything to load in. That car was actually taken by Luke Maguire in race 1. So we didn't see him at Australia, but he's here today and doing a great job of it in P5 at the moment. I think it was.
Ballard Hammer was in the pits.
Valiant Hammer is in the pits. Is there damage on the car? Probably, because I wasn't expecting any pit stops, as I said earlier.
But yeah, this was the easy part of the race. Now the tires are going to...
Oh! What's happened to Zarebiec? Zarebiec has stopped. Oh dear, he was running right the way up the field. And now he's stopped the car. So Zarebiec is out of the race. DNF. And, he's had a spin. I'm trying to look back on his replay to see what's happened. Ross Woodford's off! No! Well, what's it? It's a lag issue. It's a lag issue. Zarebiec was running 3rd, and he's had a lag issue. He's lagged straight through a couple of cars. They obviously wouldn't have seen him, and then he's just come back into existence inside of Ross Woodford, who's been submerged into the floor. Zarebiec and Woodford both go off. That's highly disappointing, and a right sort out of the order halfway through the race. And it's now Butcher leading from Yunt, Dabrowski, Brambilla, and Shepherd. So Shepherd making up many positions from that, but unfortunately, 2 of the big guys of the series are out of the race.
Wow. That's actually pretty disappointing, of course, that it happens.
Well, Woodford is still running, rather. He's still running in the points, but I'm afraid we have completely lost Konrad Zarebiec, and that was completely a lag issue. There was no foul committed, and that is highly disappointing for both drivers involved because there was nothing that either of them could have done about it. And that is the worst kind of incident for a driver because you just feel so frustrated and angry at pretty much everything. And I've had it happen where I've been driving a good race and then all of a sudden just something technical happens and all of a sudden you stand no chance. So yeah, it's horrible, but these things happen, and it has now put Matthias Dabrowski back on the podium.
And he's actually going pretty fast, so he can still go for a better position than P3. And in P4, we got there? It's Daniel Brambilla. Oh, and Daniel Brambilla was off, and now it's Chris Shepherd in P4. Chris Shepherd's in P4. That's actually pretty exciting for Chris Shepherd because he had that grid penalty. So that means that he's scoring a lot of points, and he actually can see the top 3 still driving.
I tell you what, Chris Shepherd was 18th on the grid, and he's 4th now, so that's a very impressive race from Chris Shepherd to make up 14 positions in just 9 laps. Absolutely brilliant from Chris Shepherd, and he can see the top 3 ahead of him, and the top 3 are very close on track, and if they battle harder than they are now, then they are really going to drop back into the hands of Chris Shepherd. And I'm not wishing this on the top 3 at all, but if they have some sort of incident, Shepherd could win this from 18th on the grid. That would be rather quite something. So we are about 10 laps into this race so far. So far, 30 drivers still running, and still the top 3 running within a second of each other. The top 16 running within 20 seconds of each other. It's a close field and still a very tense race, especially out front, with the 2 red Arrows cars leading us around, followed by Matthias Dabrowski in his WSL racing team car. Interestingly, the other WSL racing team car is running in 9th. That's Matthias Siabinski, who is also running well, of course, just out of Adrian Campfield. Campfield was another driver very quick in qualifying. He was 2nd on the grid without the penalty, although Chris Shepherd, who took pole sort of, is in 4th now, as the Red Arrows guys get very close again down into the braking zone. Although I'm not sure whether Jan is going to go for Butcher, because of course if these 2 cars can hold position, then it's a very good team result. If they start fighting and have an instant or lose each other too much time, then they're going to drop right back towards Dabrowski and possibly behind him, and that's what they don't want. So Jan might well be working together with Butcher here to try to get away from Matthias Dabrowski, and I've seen that happen several times in sim racing and karting and series like that. I remember, Menno, you had a very good race last year at Abu Dhabi, where you were leading, and your teammate, who I believe at the time was Matthias Siabinski, was doing a great job of holding off the cars behind, and you ended up getting a 1-2 in that race. Fond memories?
Yes, that was an amazing memory. I think about it a lot now. Well, not a lot, but it was a good memory. Yeah, that shows the importance of teamwork, and it shows that you can actually work together. Of course, last year we didn't have DRS, so this year it's a little bit more difficult. And that's why I still think that Dabrowski still has a chance to win it. He still has a chance to win it, but he needs to keep the tires okay. And let's see if we have some people with the problems with the tires now, because if they have problems with the tires, it should be around now that they completely will fall off. And I see Junt with a run on Butcher.
He's actually going to the inside, which shows me that they are not racing for... Actually, he's braked early, so I don't think he ever was actually going for his teammate. I think he was actually going to the inside to stop Dabrowski from getting it. He wasn't going for an attack on Butcher. I thought initially that he was, which sort of surprised me, because I thought they were going for the 1-2 option.
If he wanted to overtake, he could have been a lot longer in the slipstream, and he doesn't do that. So I think...
Yeah, and a lot later on the brakes as well. But Jan losing a bit of time from his teammate there under brakes, as the 3 of them sort of accordioned up, and he was presented with the difficult situation.
Oh, we've got an amazing overtake from Thomas Adriamiadisoa on Adrian Campfield. Does he do it? Does he do it? Does he do it? He does do it.
Campfield slithering wide. I thought he was going to touch the AstroTurf there, but he doesn't, and Adriamiadisoa gets through.
I think Campfield has the tire problem, at least I expect so. Let's look in the upcoming lap if he loses a lot of time. It's pretty okay, I believe, but maybe the exit wasn't that good then. Interesting to see.
Whew. Just looking at the replay, he sold him a brilliant dummy and went right to the inside, almost to the pit wall, almost over the, partially over the white line on the inside. That could not have been much closer, or done with much more commitment. It was like a perfect top corner football goal or something like that. But anyway, Matthias Siabinski took a brief look at Patrick Vandermiller there. That looked close. Whoa, Brambilla's made a mistake. Clip's alongside him. This is for 5th. Clip gets a good run out of the out of turn 13 down the straight.
Oh, nice. Clip got DRS. So Clip's in P5.
Yeah.
And look who's in P15.
P15. That would be Tom Davison.
Yes, if he can get the point, then it would mean every team has at least scored 1 point. So,
oh, brilliant!
Of course, I don't have favorites, but it would be very nice to see every team of the 0. So interesting. Got a few laps to go.
Tell you what, Davison's made up about 10 places in this race so far. He was starting. Whoa! Oh dear, he's made a mistake. That was at the final corner there, and he's going to drop back quite a lot of time to Kevin Peters behind as he gets a big swap on and goes over the grass. Look at, yeah, Roger and Choda. Choda's dropped many places here. He's really struggling with the tyre wear today. He's been speaking about it a lot, but manages to fend off Cameron Roger here. Interestingly, these are two of the teams that I've raced for, racing together here with CM Tech, which I raced for in the WCS McGann Series, and IDOS, who I raced for in
Kampfield past Adrian Maharisoa, and Kampfield is now looking at Wannemüller. Wannemüller has slight issues with turning, I believe. Wannemüller now in P8. Can he hold on? Will Kampfield steal a ball?
Kampfield dives! Well, Wannemüller's run wide, and Kampfield is still on the inside. He gets it. They lock wheels! They lock wheels and run wide. And now, there's 3 blue cars coming through. Andrea Maharisoa goes through. James Early gains a place in that, and Osvaldo Angeloni is coming through as well. Where did Angeloni go? He was running about 4th at the start. Where did he lose all of that time? I really didn't see that happening. To be honest, I should have noticed he was missing from the... Oh, he had that pit stop. Never mind. He had that run drive-through. Of course I saw that. What am I talking about? He is now alongside James Early, and behind him, oh my word, there's 3 pairs as Andrea Maharisoa and Campfield go side by side. Angeloni looks up, as does... Oh my word, even Leonov. There was so much contact in that I couldn't keep up with who was contacting who. Wannemüller loses many places, as does James Early. Leonov and Choda both, well no, Andrea Maharisoa both gain places. I mean Angeloni, both gain places with contact. And now look, as Leonov takes a look on Andrea Maharisoa, Early gets Wannemüller. This is ridiculous. Foster and Peters side by side. Foster comes out on top of that. Look at Sandeep Choda, he's having a look as well. And that's that.
Yes, we're on the last lap actually, so we're close to home, and it looks like Chris Butcher will win it, but David Junt is still there. And from everybody who knows David Junt, he knows what David Junt can do. We will never sure before we finish that David Junt, what he can do. He can still attack.
And we've had a retirement. Wesley Stefano has crashed coming out of the hairpin, and he's retired from the race.
Onto the back straight. Onto the back straight for the last time. We now
lost our second driver, and yeah, this is the final time, the last chance for anyone to slipstream anyone. I don't think we're going to see that from the Red Arrow guys, although they are very, very close on track. And if Junt was properly going for this, he might well have launched an attack at Chris Butcher there. But these two definitely going for the 1-2 tactic, with Butcher leading the championship and Junt happy to back him up for this race.
Big slip on the back straight, but the win is for Chris Butcher. Chris Butcher wins for David Junt. A 1-2 for Red Arrow Racing with Brodsky P3 and Chris Shepard in P4. What a race from Shepard. Clip P5. Oh, and at last corner.
Look at that! Final corner, and it's an absolute mess. Campfield is going side by side with Brambilla and Ziebinski, and they finish in that order. They finish Campfield, Brambilla, Ziebinski, Angeloni, Andrea Maharisoa, Leonov, Early, Wannemüller, Woodford, Davison, Foster, Choda, Peters, Koenig, Muru, Roger, De Los Rios. They crossed the line quicker than I could say their names. Wow. Willis, Graham. They are 23rd and 24th. The last point, of course, went to Tom Davison when I was reading through that order. So every team has scored points now. 5th place went to Matt Clipp at the end of that. And as you said, it was a 1-2 for the Red Arrow cars of Chris Butcher, David Junt. Very good driving from both of them. Good teamwork there as well. Matthias Dabrowski came home a brilliant 3rd, with Chris Shepard in 4th place. And now back to the drivers I haven't read out yet. 25th was Brett Metcalf. 26th was Stefan McCready. 27th, Mark Veert. 28th, Balint Hammer. And 29th, and finishing now, is going to be Ed Williams. And then we had 2 retirements in Wesley Stefano and Konrad Zarebia. So our point scorers in that race were Butcher, Junt, Dabrowski, Shepard, Clipp, Campfield, Brambilla, Ziebinski, Angeloni, Andrea Maharisoa, Leonov, Early, Wannemüller, Woodford, and Davidson.
Wow. So it looks like we now have got every team from 0. So every team got at least 1 point. with Downforce getting the last point of the first race. Now it will be interesting who will get pole in race 2. It will be a number between 10 and 15. And I can't wait to see who that will be. So potentially we could see Thomas Adrian, Ivan Leonov, James Early, Patrick Guanemüller, Ross Woodford, or Tom Davidson on pole. One of them will be on pole. It will be interesting who that is.
Well, we'll have to see. Of course, it's a completely random number from 10 to 15, and when that number is picked, we reverse the top. We reverse the top n number of cars, with n being the number picked out of the hat from 10 to 15, and that means that our pole sitter could be anyone from Thomas Andrea Marisser to Tom Davison. So anyone in that field. There are 6 drivers who could be on pole position here. And then the other drivers there are, of course, also going to be reversed. The drivers that finished ahead of our pole sitter, of course. But after that, so from 16th down, you're guaranteed to be starting in the same position that you finished in the race before. So Dominic Foster just missed out on a chance. And then everyone below him also not in with a shot of that. A very entertaining race one we saw, with our top 3 drivers separated by just 1 second, and our top 4 separated by just 2 seconds. So a very close race, and very close between everyone as well, because our top 12 were separated by less than 18 seconds. And of course, towards the end, we had an absolutely mega battle between everyone from Adrian Campfield all the way down to Ronno Muru, probably in 20th. So that's about 10 positions that were battling there. No, about 15 positions that were battling and came across the line pretty much together, all just streamed through. And what an amazing event that was. And well, we saw a lot of good racing there, and a very clean race too. Only 2 retirements, and that is great to see. A couple of guys complaining about contact, but that's always the case. We did see a lag related incident as well. Only one proper retirement caused by an actual driver error, and that was Wesley Stefano's crash as he lit up the rear tyres coming out of the hairpin, hit the wall, and then went back to the pits, giving up on. Well, he'd already given up on points, I think, but that was just the last straw. But our other incident, of course, was completely lag-related, with Zerebiec unfortunately lagging back into Ross Woodford, and unfortunately both of those drivers missing out on points they very much deserved. But we'll see what happens in race 2. It should be another very good one.
Well, I'm getting something to drink at the moment, so we'll be right back.
So we're going to have a short break now for a warm-up session, which is going to last a couple of minutes, and then we will be back in time for the second race with a reversed grid.
but we're currently pretty close to the start of race 2. We're now looking at the warm-up session where only Mateusz Dabrowski currently set a time of 1:44.2, so that's quite decent. But for the rest, you see a lot of people getting the feeling with the higher fuel load again and just making some practice starts. We now have David Junt going to P2 in this warm-up session. It's completed.
Again, that doesn't matter though, because this warm-up session doesn't have an effect on the results. Many drivers elect not to take part in it at all because they just want a rest between race 1 and race 2, not to tire themselves out. And as a result, you don't often get many drivers on track for this little session here. And we're all waiting for the race to begin. Race 2. Just looking through the YouTube comments quickly, the pole sitter for race 2 is going to be Tom Davison. So the top 15 are going to be reversed. So that means our race 1 winner, Chris Butcher, is going to be starting from 15th on the grid. So that's going to be one to look out for, certainly coming through from a long way down. Yeah, Tom Davison, of course, 15 years old. Amazing to see him at the front of the field. Great to see him score points in race 1. Very good for downforce. Of which I am a part. And, well, let's see if he can give the Birla UK karting boys something to cheer about, as Downforce UK says in the YouTube chat. Mike Bell says, am I the only one rooting for Ross Woodford? He was going really well last time, on for maybe P5, then got lag killed. Well, I'm pretty sure you're not the only one, because he was very, very unlucky, and certainly we'll see him coming through from the back. Dino Cadet types, what's the difference between Super League and Formula Challenge? Well, the main difference is that the Super League cars are based on Formula 1 cars, and the Formula Challenge cars are based on GP3. So it's all to do with the sort of level of the cars. Formula Challenge is a lot slower, but there are more drivers. And the Formula Challenge is very much a stepping stone towards Super League. So Formula Challenge drivers tend to aspire to race in Super League in the future. So this is sort of like League 3, and between League 3 and League 1, of course, we have a League 2 as well, Super Cup, which is on tomorrow, and that'll be on at the same time at the same track. So yeah, those are the main differences there.
It's true. Like the difference between Formula Challenge and Super League is also like 400 horsepower, and like Super League is also quick in the corners. Like you've got so much entry speed with all those F1 styled cars with so much downforce. And well, yeah, the FC cars has downforce as well, but it's a lot less. And yeah, but it's still a fast car, the FC car. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. But of course, yeah, the biggest car of the league is, of course, the Super League car, which is the fastest, clearly, of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see in the YouTube chat that yeah, there's a lot of drivers explaining the same thing. I've driven the Formula Challenge car actually. I did the preseason test for CM Tech, and it does feel brilliant this year. It's so much more planted than last year. You can really kind of rely a lot more on the car to sort of carry your weight as you exit the corners. You don't really have to worry about the car sort of spinning up the rears as much as you did last year. Also in the YouTube chat, Jack Mayer says, not going to lie, Shepherd has to be one of the favourites to win race 2. Yes, Chris Shepherd, of course, finished 4th in race 1, so that means he is going to be about 11th on the grid, but we've seen that he has a lot of pace, coming through from 18th on the grid in race 1 to 4th. Surely that means that he can win it from 11th, so we'll have to see. Also, happy birthday to Jack Mayer. That was only a couple of days ago. Couple more YouTube comments as well. We've got people reminiscing about the youngest pole sitters in GPVWC history. Fran Lopez, one of them, who is also there, who had pole at a very young age. Some people are saying 12. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but that's really rather amazing to have even been driving at that age. But great to see people of all ages getting involved in sim racing. And of course, our pole sitter today is Tom Davison, who is of course a kart driver with the Downforce UK team, going for an all kart driver lineup. And that's an interesting concept which we've seen for this season. But okay, well, he wasn't 12. He says he was 15 years old and 2 months. So that's sounds more realistic. But yeah, okay, we get the picture. It's still quite amazing. I mean, I remember my first sim race. I was nowhere near the pace for. But anyway,
true. We're waiting for everybody to line up. I believe
and
they can
now
start now.
We are starting the formation lap. So away we go. Oh, who's this? Tristan Potters. Okay, well, Tristan Potters at the back of the field in the other GPVWC Academy car. That's interesting. So you didn't tell me about that, Menno.
Well, I got nothing to do with it. No, I actually had. So it was an option, at least when he was. Yeah, I did a lot of testing, but he didn't have a seat. So I talked with him, and if he could make the race, he would have raced. But yeah, he wasn't at home, so he did some laps, I believe, offline, and yeah, he actually did a lot of laps before. So yeah, he's declared good to race. So interesting what he can do. He's starting from the pits.
Well, I tell you what he's done already. He's actually just run into the other GPVWC Academy driver, Konrad Zarebiec. There doesn't appear to be any damage, but that's not a good start for Tristan to load in late and already collide with his team. He's in the pits. So yeah, Tristan,
he's in the pits because he needs to start from the pits, actually. So.
Oh, of course. So why was he on the track anyway?
I believe he wanted to warm up his tires. I don't know, actually. So
he's loaded in late, gone out onto the track, collided with his teammate, and gone back into the pits anyway. I'm afraid that's a bit of a silly start from Tristan Potters. But anyway, I'll stop criticising Tristan for now. I'm good friends with Tristan.
Should we do the grid?
Look at the rest of the field. So at the front of the field, we have Tom Davison, followed by Ross Woodford. Ross Woodford is certainly going to be one of the favourites here. We saw him with a lot of pace in race 1, unfortunately getting taken off by lag issues. Patrick Vonnemuller, James Early, Ivan Leonov, Thomas Andrea Marisa. I should actually mention Ivan Leonov came from the back of the grid last race to about P10, so brilliant performance from him. Osvaldo Angeloni, certainly a lot more up his sleeve after his drive-through in race 1. Matthias Zibinski, Daniele Brambilla, Adrian Campfield, Matthew Clipp, Chris Shepherd, much more up his sleeve. Matthias Dabrowski, David Yunt, Chris Butcher, our race 1 winner, starting from 15th. That'll be a hard one to replicate. Dominic Foster, Sanduk Choda, Kevin Peters, Philip Koenig, Rano Muri, Cameron Roger, Miguel de los Rios, Ben Willis, Harry Graham, Brett Metcalf, Stefan McCready, Mark Veit, Valence Hammer, Ed Williams, Konrad Zarebiec, and then starting from the pit lane, the so far slightly embarrassed Tristan Potters.
But you could, yeah, it's better to have an embarrassed start and a good finish than the other way around, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So interesting. Who's going to win it, Joshua?
Right. I don't want to say, because I know I'll curse them like this. I've already said Ross Woodford has to be one to look out for. He's starting from 2nd on the grid. And of course, he showed a lot of pace in race 1, should have finished a lot higher up the order and didn't due to lag issues. Tom Davison, of course, he knows how to defend. He's a kart driver. I don't know if he can win this, but if he can put on a good show for us up the front of the order, he's certainly impressed a lot of us already. And he's certainly in with a shout of a good position here. Whether that's a win or not, I don't know. I'm afraid both of the Academy cars are in the pits. So, unfortunately for you, Menno, you're not having the best of starts to this race too.
Well, my vote for the win goes to Chris Shepherd or even Leonov. Watch Leonov. I think he can star this race.
Well, we'll have to see. We're just waiting for the lights again. I believe that everyone who needs to be on the grid is on the grid. Here come the lights. 3, 4, 5. Go! The race is underway, and it's a good start for Tom Davison, who comes across at the start. He leads the race. Ross Woodford is right behind him. Does he go for the lead into turn 1? Davison is weaving all over the track. Defends well. Slight contact with Ivan Leonov, although he's through safely. In fact, I think we're all through safely again, so another good start. And the GPVWC Academy cars making their way out of the pits, except for Zarebiec. He is still in there. And it's Davison leading us around, followed by Woodford, Vonnemuller, Early, Leonov, Angeloni, Ziobinski defending from Andrea Mahosur. And now Campfield going around the outside of both of them gets up into 8th position there. Almost got up to 7th. Now, as we're looking up the field, even Leonov has got past James early. So Leonov has made his first move of the race. And now Woodford right on the tail of Tom Davison. He will want to get past him as soon as he possibly can to try to accelerate away from the rest of the field before some of the really quick guys get through. Takes a look, but doesn't get in there. That's a good start from Tom Davison and from Ross Woodford.
Oh, David jumped off!
Oh, in fact, we've had a couple of people off. Potters is off, Willis is off, and David Young, again, has dropped to 28th position, and that's the person who finished second in the last race, so that's a shame to see.
Oh, better for the lead. Ross Woodford next to Tom Davison. Oh.
And Woodford has the outside right.
Big crash from Van der Muller. Oh, what happened there? Then?
Well, I can't keep up with this, but there was going to be a move for the lead. What happened is Van der Muller tagged the back. He left his braking too late, tagged the back of Leonov, almost took him off, spun along the barrier, and now he's down into 22nd place. So that's bad to see. There was a further incident involving, I think, well, I saw someone in the wall anyway, but something happened. We've had a pretty eventful first lap. Daniele Brambilla, I'm afraid, is in the pits, so that's bad to see. He's got has he got damage on that car, or was that a jump start? It might. Well, he's stopping, but anyway, unfortunately, Konrad Serebic and Stefan McCready didn't make the start, so we've lost 2 people already. And Woodford gets the lead. He's taking a look up the inside. Davison is still alongside him though. And does Davison keep it? No, Woodford does get the lead. He'll have the inside for the next corner. It looks as if he just left his braking later than Davison into the hairpin, pulled out of the slipstream, got to the inside. We expected that would come pretty quickly, and it's already occurred. And it's Woodford leading now, followed by Davison and Leonov. Leonov takes a look, but still behind Tom Davison, who is running in 2nd position. And then the rest of the field streams through this contact. Kevin Peters gets into the back of Philip. I think Dominic Foster collided with there and spins the car around. He's down to 21st position behind Van der Muller now, so that's a shame. And now even Leonov goes to the outside of Tom Davison. Davison slots in and dives again. Late move, but Davison is back alongside Leonov. Although Leonov will have the inside for the final corner. Davison very late there, very nearly tagged the back of Leonov's car. That's twice in a row. Leonov's almost been taken off, and look at Woodford goes wide. That's not going to lose him much time there. As the people behind him are battling, Leonov going defensive from Davison as we head towards turn 1. And Davison really wrestles the car in. That was a quick direction change. And, well, he's had to settle for 3rd position now. But, and Angeloni is up to 4th. So that's 3 positions gained for Angeloni, who was 2nd in the championship coming into this round. And Angeloni is in 4th, looking for a podium so far.
That is very good for Angeloni. Angeloni already in P4. Could he win this then, or will it be one of the 3 that are leading now? It will be very interesting. But I must say, Tom Davison and even Leonov and of course Ross Woodford show that they really have skill. That dive back from Tom Davison was pretty amazing what he did uneven, but he couldn't make it stick. So they're fighting really hard. And
someone got sideways. Matthias Dabrowski's got sideways and
but it
dropped back from James early. Andrea Maharaso is having a go at him too and gets alongside in the slight contact there. Andrea Maharaso forced wide, and through goes Chris Butcher, our championship leader, up into 10th position now.
Time for DRS.
Yeah, time for DRS to come into play. We're on lap 3 of the race. This is the lap where it all starts to kick off. And who's going to be pulling moves on who here? Well, Davison has been passed by Angeloni, so Angeloni has gone for it. And now Ziobinski is trying to get Davison as well. Oh, he cuts the corner. So Davison gets a better run. But Ziobinski gets through. I reckon, Ziobinski gets through. I reckon he's going to get a penalty for that because he has got through by cutting the corner. Campfield runs wide. And if I was Davison, I'd report that. Look at Davison in a complete sandwich with the 2 Stacks Racing Cars, Campfield to the inside, Shepherd to the outside. Campfield gets a good drive through the corner and gets ahead. And oh, look at Shepherd! Very aggressive, almost took out the rear end of Tom Davison's car. And now we do have a Davison burger between the two Stacks Racing cars of Campfield and Shepherd. Oh, look at that. Davison leaving his braking late and launching towards Campfield ahead of him. But, well, Ross Woodford getting away at the start here. He is leading from Ivan Leonov, Osvaldo Angeloni, Matthias Ziabinski, Adrian Campfield, Tom Davison, Chris Shepherd, James Early, Matthias Zabrowski, Chris Butcher, Matthew Klipp, Sandeep Choda, Thomas Andriama Harasur, Philip Koenig, and Dominic Foster. Those are the top 15 and the points sitters at the moment. And just outside of the points is Miguel de los Rios in 60.
True. Let's see who's now close in the DRS range. I think it's Chris Shepherd. Chris Shepherd will have a DRS on Tom Davidson. I think he will be able to pass him, but we shall see.
We certainly shall. Here he comes. He has the DRS. He's tucked right in. I barely can see there's even a car there. Look at Early and Dabrowski. Dabrowski goes to the inside. Shepherd goes to the inside of Davison. Leaves his braking late. Oh, he clouted his teammate. Shepherd clouts his teammate. And Davison, and he's really stuffed that one because he's dropped back now. Right back to where he came from. Early has come out ahead of Dabrowski as well. But that was very close for Shepherd, who properly runs into his teammate there, and that's really not what you're supposed to do. As side by side in the background are Koenig and De Los Rios for 14th position. Someone's diving into the pits. Rono Muru is diving into the pits, so that might well be a drive-through from the start. Oh, and Dominic Foster in the pits as well, so a couple of people possibly getting drive-throughs. Daniele Brambilla, I'm afraid, has dropped back from the field. He made a pit stop at the start. Tristan Pottis is out, so you've lost both of your academy drivers, I'm afraid, Menno. And now Davison's still ahead of Shepherd after that contact. I'm just having a look at the replay. Actually, it was simply that Shepherd left his braking later, and Campfield would have been thinking, "What are you doing, mate? Just smashing me in the side all of a sudden." And that's indeed what happened as Leonov goes wide, running over the curb, but keeps it all in one piece. Ooh, slight wiggle under braking again. And Angeloni is really catching him here. So Angeloni, who was second in the championship coming into this round, is getting closer and has the slipstream.
We've got a crasher. Ballanthammer is standing still. Is he out? Is he out? Ballanthammer?
Oh, Roger gets sideways and over the curb as well, going into turn 11. But what happened to Ballanthammer? He is indeed out of the race.
Butcher against Early. And Butcher's got it.
Well, it looks as if Hammer just got over the curb and then couldn't control the car as it popped down. But yeah, it looks as if Butcher has got Early, has he? He has, so up to 9th is Butcher. And now look at Shepherd having another go at Davison. He's going for it around the outside here. But not quite. Davison still keeps that position for now.
Oh, Dabrowski!
Dabrowski in a spin, and he drops down the order. He's cut across the... Oh, goodness. Cuts across the grass. And now gets clipped by Klipp. And that was almost a poor situation. But Dabrowski only loses a handful of places there. Oh, Klipp goes to the inside again. Oh, more contact. Forces Dabrowski wide, but gets the place. That was a touring car overtake, I tell you.
Yeah, and I saw another touring car overtake from Chris Shepherd on Tom Davidson. Tom Davidson really shows his skill. He showed really good pace and battle power, and it looked very good for him. And he's now still in P7, and if he can get that position, it would be great for Tom Davidson.
And there's a lot more. Well, it's close for the lead now, I tell you, because the top three have really closed in. Look at this; they're getting closer, and Leonov is now within a second of Woodford ahead, so he will have the DRS in the DRS zones. And now Leonov can think about trying to reel in that gap again. This is my pre-race prediction for the win versus yours, I think. But anyway,
yeah.
Leonov catching, and now Angeloni also catching. And look in the background as Campfield goes to the inside, Ziobinski to the outside, heading towards turn 1. Ziobinski is going to try to hold it around the longer line, but of course that's not going to work. Campfield keeps the inside and stays in 4th position as we head through turn 2 as well, and needs to keep it tight to prevent Ziobinski from having a look. Of course, the two Stacked racing cars, 4th and 6th, so they've both gained places recently. They were 5th and 7th a while ago, but Stack's making their way up the order. They were 1st and 2nd on the grid until the penalties. So we've seen a lot of potential from the Stack's racing guys this weekend, or this Tuesday rather. But I'm afraid they haven't really been able to show what they've truly been worth because of the penalties. But of course, that's their own fault from last race.
Well, even Leonov is really pushing. He's getting closer and closer every time on every braking zone. So it's very interesting what he can do. Can he pass then with DRS?
Well, he's gained a 10th in a lap and he's still within the DRS range. So we'll see what Leonov can do this time around. He opens the DRS, but he's still a long way back from the car ahead. And he's still got a long way to catch, but it's certainly going to be a close one.
Sandeep on James early for P9, and Sandeep does it.
Yeah, and look in the background as well as Clip gets alongside Dubrovsky, and Clip keeps 11th for now, but Dubrovsky goes around the outside. This contact, that wasn't going to work. Oh dear, I thought Dubrovsky was going to go for a right spin. I'm very surprised they got away with that as well as they did. But that was very close. And now look at Andrea Marasoa having a go at Dubrovsky as well, going up the inside for 12th. Dubrovsky just seems to have the grip on the outside, though, and keeps 12th position. But to be honest, I'm very surprised he didn't spin completely out of that position. But did a good job to hold it, as Leonov took a proper look at Woodford there, down into the first of the two proper hairpins on this lap.
I don't want to be Woodford on the back straight, actually. So I wonder how long Woodford can keep Leonov at bay. Of course, we don't know how it is with tires, but if Ivan is close enough and you could DRS, I fear it will be a easier overtake. Of course, we'll also do everything to make sure he stays ahead. So I guess on the straight he will go to the right pretty soon.
Well, it's a proper battle now. They're within half a second of each other, and Leonov will have a very good slipstream here. In fact, he might well go for the move as he gets the DRS. He opens the flap. He's in the slipstream. Let's watch Leonov. As Woodford goes defensive as we thought. Leonov has the position so far. He's in the lead, but does he keep it? Yes, Woodford breaks earlier. Leonov goes around the outside of a hairpin. That's amazing from Leonov to just be the last of the late breakers. Leonov leads the race from Woodford, and Angeloni is right with them as well. They're going to be absolutely nose to tail as we head down the straight this time around. We're heading on to lap 9 out of 14, and still they're close. Angeloni takes a look, Woodford takes a look, but everyone holds fast, and we have a new race leader. It is Ivan Leonov for the Cenobite Motorsport Group.
It's very interesting, and of course Osvaldo Angeloni is close in P3. He can still win this, but Adrian Campfield now in P4, but Matthias Zubinski in P5, Chris Shepard still in P6, so he can gain some points on his rival Chris Butcher, but it will not be too much. But Tom Davidson still is in P7, but Sandeep now in P9, Chris Butcher, Sandeep in P8, Chris Butcher P9, and James Early now in P10.
Leonov cornering very aggressively in that sector there. Got a big kick of oversteer, but holds on to it. He's really wrestling the car now. This isn't a good race from Butcher so far. Our championship leader running in 9th position. He, of course, has a complete 100% podium streak so far this year, but that looks as if it's going to be broken today. But still, plenty of time left to go in this race for things to change, especially with these top three who are still in a proper battle, and Woodford might well have a go again at
Look at
race
Osvaldo.
leader Ivan
Look
Leonov.
at Osvaldo.
Look at Osvaldo indeed. Here he goes. No, they're not close enough. So Woodford has to hold station, as does Angeloni, and still those three are in the order they found themselves in at this point on the last lap, as we head towards lap 10 of 14.
Well, Chris Shepard went off the track, but now he's on the track again.
Shepard running in 6th, a long way ahead of the person in 7th. And talking of 7th, Sandeep Chodar is having to go very defensive from Tom Davison, who pokes to the outside line. Sandeep Chodar, I believe, only just got the place from Tom Davison, so Davison is properly coming back at him here for 7th position. But they're both coming under attack from our championship leader, Chris Butcher. And Butcher himself has to be careful of James Early, who is in his mirrors. So this battle is another one that could change at any minute. You don't know where to look in a race like this. Oh, Chodar goes wide. Davison has a look. He's going to have the outside line for the sweepers, though. And Zurbinski has a kick of oversteering 5th as well. And now, as we head towards the back straight, what's the gap for the lead? It's 0.6 of a second. The top three still separated by less than a second. Surely there's still going to be more to this tale up the front here. There is certainly more to give between these top three, as well, it's all going to be about Osvaldo Angeloni here down the back straight. I'm sure he's properly going for it. Look at the difference in speed. Angeloni goes to the inside. Woodford didn't want to give him that, but he's got it. Oh, Angeloni loses it. I thought he was going to take out our leader, but somehow he keeps it. That was very close, and somehow they're still in the same position. Of course, he got Woodford initially, but off the road, so he had to let Woodford just go. It was very close to taking out even Leonov, but somehow they all survived. And Angeloni's gone for it again down into turn 1, and he might well get it this time. Angeloni to 2nd. So, Angeloni gets 2nd ahead of Ross Woodford, but it's still Leonov leading this race, and he would really have seen that as a lifeline, as he saw his life flash before his eyes initially. As
a crash from P15. It's Philip Koenig with 360, and he's still in P15. Wow.
Well, he had a look at getting past Miguel de los Rios. Actually, he made a mistake coming out the final corner. De los Rios tried to get past him on the outside, and then they just came together in turn 1 with Koenig doing a 360 and coming out still in P15. He won't be happy about that, but to be honest, it was a very close one. Difficult one to judge. You could say that De Los Rios turned in slightly too early. Oh, as Peters gets a kick of oversteer at the hairpin there, and now Renault Muru and Dominic Foster fighting over 24th. Foster goes to the outside. Muru keeps it on the inside, and we have lost Mark Veit. So Mark Veit is another retirement from this race.
Too bad to hear, but it's still going back to the front. It's still Ivan Leonov in the other Cenobite leading, and yes, I can see Osvaldo getting close in this lap. So it's Ross Woodford still in P3, but Adrian Campfield is pretty quick now in P4. I believe he's catching up to them. Only 3 laps to go. Well, we've got a great battle for P5 between Mateusz Subinski and Chris Shepard. Oh, well, we had a great battle for P10 as well, between James Early and Tom Davidson.
Many battles still going on track as we're 11 out of 14 laps in. I don't think anyone's going to be close enough to go for a move into turn 1 this time, but Davison gets very close to Dabrowski. Brandon Dollar types in the YouTube stream that that hairpin is a killer corner today, and indeed it absolutely is. We've seen many drivers getting sideways there or running into people there. Of course, we saw that from Chris Shepard just now as he ran into Adrian Campfield, and we very nearly saw the same thing from Angeloni and Leonov. And if those two are coming together, it would have been Woodford leading the race again. Oh, and someone's sideways, and that is De Los Rios. So De Los Rios has had a spin at the he's just got over the curb and spun it inwards onto the grass there at the chicane in the
But Delos
chicane near
Rios
the
is now
start of the lap.
out of the points, so that's of course not good to see. Ooh.
Yeah, he's lost a place to both Koenig and Junt, who's
Oh,
recovering.
Osvaldo is off! What's happening with Osvaldo? P6!
Whoa!
Osvaldo!
Okay, well, Osvaldo has had an off. He was running second. Has he hit? He's hit Leonov. He's run into the back of even Leonov. Yeah. Those are our leaders coming together. And that's just it's just kind of cost him the downforce in exactly the place he didn't want to lose the downforce from. And he's dropped back down to 6th position. Leonov has got away with it. He might not have even known he'd been tapped, but it was very close. And it's now Leonov leading still from Woodford, Campfield, Shepherd and Ziobinski. But Shepherd and Ziobinski right together as we're on the penultimate lap of the race here. Ziobinski took a look to the outside, but Shepherd holding 4th for the 2nd race in a row. And now Campfield has really caught Woodford, so there might still be a battle on for 2nd here. Although, of course, with Angeloni dropping back after that incident, Leonov is leading our race considerably as Campfield takes a look to the inside of Woodford, who goes wide, and Campfield gets 2nd.
I think Woodford's tires are gone. He couldn't make the corner anymore, and he just needs to survive 1.5 laps. Can he keep it on the podium? You would say he could, but of course, with Chris Shepherd in your rearview mirror, you don't know, and it will be very interesting the last 1.5 laps. But even Leonov, will he win it? Will he win it then and become a new winner for Cenobite in their 2nd Formula Challenge round? That would be very interesting.
It certainly would be. I don't believe that even Leonov has ever got a Formula Challenge win or even a GPVWC win before, because this is his 1st season in the GPVWC. He didn't even score points last time out, so this would be a brilliant result from him. Of course, he qualified right the way up the field, but then had an incident with Sandeep Choda, who was also very unlucky last time out. And Leonov, who started at the back of the field for race 1, as in right at the back, is certainly going for this as he starts the final lap of the race now ahead of Adrian Campfield, Ross Woodford, Chris Shepherd and Matthias Ziobinski, but it's very close in those positions. Behind them, Osvaldo Angeloni, Sandeep Choda, Chris Butcher, Matthias Dabrowski, James Early, Tom Davison, still running in a good position, but he is going defensive for Matthew Klipp, who goes to the outside. This is for 11th, and Klipp trying to run around the outside of Tom Davison, although Davison's still with the inside. If Klipp can hold this, he'll have the inside for turn 2. That's a good move from Klipp to keep the vital position, and he gets it for 11th, although Davison gets a better run. He's coming back at him here, down into the hairpin rather. And look at Andrea Marisur coming down the inside, trying to spoil everyone's party, but doesn't manage it. And Davison has to back out of that and keep it 12th. Andrea Marisur is behind them, and behind him is David Junt and Philip Koenig, who are also close on track, and Miguel Delos Rios just out of the points. So that is the point scoring positions heading on to the final lap of the race. And what a race this one's been, just like last time. Chris Shepherd very close to Ross Woodford. Let's watch this as they head down the penultimate straight. This is going to be close, and will there be a change for the final spot on the podium? Shepherd goes to the inside of Ross Woodford with the DRS, and in the background Ziobinski and Angeloni are fighting as well. Angeloni right to the inside of the track. That was very close, and Ziobinski will be forced to the outside as Woodford gets the inside. As Shepherd gets the inside and Woodford's forced to the outside of the track. Angeloni, and look at this, even Leonov wins the race out front for Cenobite Motorsport. His first points, his first win, there he goes. Adrian Campfield is 2nd, Chris Shepherd holds on to 3rd, and then it's Ross Woodford, Osvaldo Angeloni, Matthias Ziobinski, Sandeep Choda, Chris Butcher, Butcher beat Choda. What's happened? Did he?
No.
No.
Well,
yes, something happened with Sandeep Choda. So Butcher 7th, then it's Dabrowski, Early Klipp. What's happening here? Are there some time penalties going on?
I think there are time penalties going on, and that made...
no, it was just a glitch. Choda is still 7th.
Yeah, so. He's still there. Wow. So Sandeep Choda is 7th? Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, my timing was just glitching. And then it's Butcher, Dabrowski, Early, Klipp, Andrea Marissa, Davison, Yunt, Koenig for the final point. Just outside of the points was De Los Rios. And then it's Peters, Graham, Willis, Funnemiller, Metcalf, and then still racing is Cameron Roger, who's going to claim 22nd, just ahead of Ronomura. Those two are going to be close across the line. And it's Roger who claims that just about, by less than a tenth of a second, ahead of Dominic Foster, Danilo Brambilla, and our last driver across the line is going to be the unfortunate Ed Williams in 26th position. But we did have a couple of retirements who were Mark Veit, Valent Hammer, Tristan Potters, Konrad Zaribic, and Stefan McCready. Now, stay where you are because we are going to have a couple of interviews, and hopefully we will be able to piece together a couple of the stories of the races from the drivers.
Yes, we're waiting for that. But there were 2 fun rounds today, and yeah, we got a nice winner in Ivan Leonov now in race 2. A new winner, always good to see a new winner in the field, and yeah. And let's see, with a double stacks podium, they at least strike back after race 1, where they didn't score a lot of points, and I think one of their main rivals in the Constructor Championship, Red Arrow, went for a 1-2, so at least they scored a lot of points as well. So all with all, very interesting rounds with, of course, Ross Woodford actually showing his talents. So it would be good if we see him back actually in 2 weeks' time. He would deserve it. And yeah, of course, Osvaldo with a mistake, but he showed pace again. So don't count out Osvaldo for the championship for now. He will not lead it, but he will be in the hunt. Sandeep Shoda gets his first points of the season now here in race 2. Chris Butcher, yeah, loses his 100% podium finishing, but yeah, P8 is still not bad. I mean, it's still 8 points in the end. This is just what he needs to do. Just score 8 points, then still enough. If this is a bad race and you still score 8 points, it's pretty good. Well, you see Dabrowski 9, so Dabrowski got P9 and 3rd place, and then with Siubinski getting a lot of points means that WSL had a lot of points this round, so they will score. Yeah, they will score and go up a lot. I think Matthew Klipp had 2 exciting and good races. Same goes for James Early. And something is happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good weekend for a lot of drivers, and one weekend it was a good driver for is our race 1 winner, Chris Butcher. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
So, we saw you, of course, winning race 1. I suppose you didn't exactly know where you'd qualified, though, starting there. When did you find out you had pole for the race?
Straight away, to be honest.
Okay.
I had a look at the list of penalties, and I knew that I knew both Stacks boys had good penalties. So, yeah.
Right. So you found yourself on pole with your teammate on second. In second, you can't really get a much better situation than that. And I suppose from that point on, it was just a case of teamwork for you in race 1.
That was the idea, but we didn't get off to the best start because David didn't get the best launch away from the grid. But yeah, I had to push hard, but look after the tyres at the same time, which isn't easy. And I was a bit wary about the front left. It was getting really low at one point, and I just had no front end grip at the end. But thank God David was there. Otherwise, I might have found myself tumbling down the order.
Well, you brought it home in first, which is very good for your championship challenge. Race 2 was a bit of a harder one. Of course, you started from 15th with the reverse grid, so you were given a tricky position, and of course you climbed up the field. Just describe how that was.
It was hard work. The pace of the guys, even just the top 15 was unreal here, and it's when you've got about 3 cars within a second, or with DRS, and you're hitting the rev limiter, it's pretty hard to make a move on the brakes. So it was just a case of biding my time, keeping out of trouble, and picking off people when they made mistakes.
Well, you certainly did that. P8. So are you pleased with that? It did end your streak of podiums, but are you just pleased not to have ended up in the wall through either your fault or someone else's, or are you of course disappointed?
Obviously I would have liked to finish higher up, but I think I can be happy with 8th on a reverse grid. 15th is such a hard place to start from because you've obviously got so many cars in front of you, but you're right in the midfield where all of the action is, so you've just got to take it easy the first couple of laps and keep yourself out of trouble, make sure you don't take any damage. Yeah, I didn't get on the podium, but it's not going to happen every round. And I was a bit lucky in Australia, to be fair, because there were a fair few incidents with, I think, a bit of race rustiness from everybody, and that seems to have sorted itself out for this race. So, yeah, I think I can be happy with that.
Well done. I'm pretty sure you are still leading the championship. I want to get through the next couple of interviews quickly, actually, because I see many people waiting. Right. Let's bring in David Yunt. So we've heard from one Stax Racing guy, and I'm just going to drag in our second. So, Mr. Yunt, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, David. So we saw a P2 in qualifying, but a P2 in race 2 as well doesn't really sum up the race. You really had to fight for that position, didn't you?
You mean race 2, right?
Race 1.
I'm still a bit.
So
race
you
1.
qualified P2 and you finished race 2, but you finished P2 rather, but you had to fight for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting like with the BRG to start a bit further than usual because sometimes I don't like hot lapping and don't get it done, grip issues, whatever. Maybe I'm just imagining, but going from second into the race was already amazing, but bogged down at the start, fell back a bit, but it's just a kind of nervous race all the way through because we were looking at the tires, we're not sure if we could really make it, and it was like giving the numbers from me because I had like Sim HQ and stuff to look at, and at one stage I think Osvaldo was gone. I'm not sure if he jumped the start or if he spun, but he was gone. Then we had just like Dabrowski and Terapiech behind us or with us, and at one stage I think I just managed to sneak through as he had a bad exit from second hairpin, and at that stage I was just trying like to use the DRS and here with Chris and to try not to get passed by Dabrowski again, who put really pressure on me. So yeah, it wasn't easy that way. I mean, it looked like my front tires were still. I nursed them a little bit, maybe better than Chris, who's a bit scrubbing them off, but I was more looking like behind me because I didn't want to lose the podium. I didn't make one mistake and cost us both that great result. So I was just more or less flying with it and just trying to make it train because, I mean, if we're like fighting for it under each other, it would be really bad since they would catch us immediately back up again and would have, of course, endangered that one too.
Okay, thanks for that. Race 2, of course, not the best start there. You got kind of involved in a little incident, didn't you? What happened? What happened there?
Firstly, it already put me in the position because I didn't like the shadows of race 2 start, so I kind of didn't see well. Then I bogged down again, shifted to third, which was too far, and then dropped to like 20th. Got like a position feedbacks on the outside with some good driving, which I didn't think I could stand it there and put it in. But then after a few of the S's, there was someone ahead of me that was like losing it on the curb and going to the right. I was going to the left to avoid to the inside for the turn, and then I just felt the contact and spun me around into the gravel trap, and that took me like I think 10 seconds to get back out. And then I think I noticed that the additional suspension damage, I think I had a little, I think caused me a little more wear than before, so it was a bit tougher to go through turns in the end. So battling then for the last few points with Miguel and Philip was really tough since I couldn't use my full advantage, like on the tires, to stand on them and then get a better run, for example, on the back straight to use DRS. So it was really tough to get Philip, which I was surprised on the last run to the second last turn, because I thought he would now have DRS, and it didn't seem like it was, and so I kind of kept P14, and yeah, it was like the same result as in race 2 in the first race, but with much better overall result for me and the team. So I'm glad it's a double score, and I'm glad I managed to make a comeback into the points. So I'm really glad for the team.
Okay, yeah, good drive and good points for the team. Right, next in, out of the about 7 still waiting. Okay, come on. Right, Adrian Campfield. Hello, Adrian.
Good evening.
Right, so Adrian, you were right up the front of the order in qualifying, only to be demoted by a grid penalty. But from that point on, I'm sure it was just sort of finding your way back through the order in this race weekend. And how do you think that went for you?
Well, I was a little bit disappointed with qualifying. I thought I'd nipped it for a minute, and then I had a back of the grid in race 1. On top of that, I had a 20 place demotion, so I ended up 28th and stole 6th on the last lap, so I was well chuffed with that. A little bit disappointed we didn't get a bit further in race 2, but Chris ran a little bit deep into the hairpin and caught my back wheel. I don't know whether that compromised us a bit, but we just didn't quite have the pace to catch the guys in front like we thought. But you know, from 28th to 2nd over 2 races, I couldn't be happier, to be honest.
Well, very, very good. Very good drive from you, and I think that you have cemented your top 5 position in the championship. So that's very good. Thanks for that.
The aim now is just to get a little bit closer to Chris Butcher, and I know he's got quite a few points at the moment, but you know, me and Chris have got quite a good setup between us, so I think we'll have the pace most of the season. Now it's just about, you know, keeping out of trouble, bit gun-ho in the first round, but this one was a bit better, pretty clean for both races, so should be good for the next race.
Okay, yeah, very good. Thanks for that. Right, okay, next up is a Chris Shepherd. Hello, Chris.
Hello, all right. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. So Chris, you were right in the midst of the action the whole way through, pretty much. Big fight in race 1, especially, but through to 4th position from a hefty penalty. I'm sure that felt rather good.
It was all right, but there was no trophy at the end, and Butcher won, so didn't feel terribly great, to be honest with you.
Well, still, it was many positions made up, and I'm sure I can say exactly the same thing for race 2. That was about 6 or 7 positions as well.
Yeah, to be fair, we should have done a bit better as a team in race 2. I made a bit of a mistake overtaking someone under braking and just clipped my own teammate, so I've already apologised to him for that. So it compromised us a couple of seconds and a little bit of pace, but it was okay. I mean, before the event, if you'd have told me that, knowing that I was going to be starting way back there, that I would only lose about 3 points to Butcher, even more, I would have bit your hand off. So I'm overall happy with that, I suppose.
Well, very good, very good. I believe that you're... I think you've actually moved up a couple of positions in the championship, but I'll wait to see the order to confirm that.
Yeah, sure. Right,
next up we have a... I've already done David Young, haven't I? Oops, my mistake. Apologies. Okay, finally, I'm going to bring in the entire Downforce racing team. So in come a Jake Sanson, a Harry Graham, and a Tom Davison. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So that was probably your best performance that I've seen yet. I mean, I've only, of course, seen Australia and Shanghai, but it went rather well for you. Started off with qualifying as well, and Jake, you were saying that you're very proud of these guys. They've gained a lot of pace this week. Just how much work have they been doing?
They've worked incredibly hard over the last 14 days or so. They were really motivated by Australia, frustrated as well, which proves, they're definitely going to move forward. We reckon we gained about a second in terms of the distance from where we were, because we were about 2 seconds a lap down in qualifying last time. We're only about a second off the pace. There were a couple of laps where the guys got it a little bit crossed up, so we might have had another 2 or 3 tenths in the bag. That could have moved us a little higher up the grid, but then we wouldn't have had our first pole position. So, we're quite happy with what we've achieved.
Well, I tell you what, if you were 2 seconds behind last time, and now you're 1 second behind, next time, mate, you're going to be on pole, aren't you?
Well, no pressure, eh?
Probably because we did 5 hours of practice.
Yeah, we did a lot.
Okay, well, I'll start with you, Harry. So you were just outside of the points in both races there. Do you think that you're still pretty pleased with how your races went? Was that the best you could have done today?
Yeah, well, at the start of the first race, I got a bit of a lag incident with that hammer guy. Nothing either of us could do, but he just sent him into me, and then it was probably lost about 10, 15 seconds, and then got up to 24th, and then up to 18th in the next one. I could have been a bit higher, but all the tyres went off at the end of the race because I was trying to get a decent track position at the start. So I think I'm quite pleased with that, but a little bit frustrated again. If we get some luck next time, hopefully it should be in the points.
Very good. And Tom Davison as well. We've got a lot to talk about to do with those races. So your first points in race 1.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you found out you were going to be starting on pole for race 2?
I don't know, really. I was like, I walked upstairs after a drink. I've never been on pole in a proper series before, so it's a new experience.
It's going bonkers.
He really was, actually. He was saying to me, I've never even started a position in karting before. Why did GPVWC? This is crazy. So we were trying to talk him down. We were trying to go, just focus on the tyres. Don't worry about the start. Just focus on the tyres. And he did a good job on the first lap. He was absolutely screaming when he came across the line at the end of lap 1. It's like, I've led a lap in GPVWC. I've led a lap. It's like, no, calm down, Tom. You're doing fine.
I know how that feels. Right, yeah, amazing drive. And you were really holding off some of the guys. Of course, you were dropping back through the order, but to be honest, there are some brilliantly quick drivers in this field. And you were properly getting involved in some properly respectful racing there. I bet it felt rather good.
Yeah, I was trying to get better, obviously, and follow people, then know what they're doing and get better. So it'll make me better in the future.
Well, we'll see you next time, I'm sure. And that's going to be is it Bahrain next? I'm pretty sure it's Bahrain next.
I think it's Baku next.
Oh, it's Baku. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh, we're not going to Bahrain, are we? Yeah. Okay. So Baku next.
Bit of banger racing.
Yeah. Well, the guys are preparing. I love it. The second they got off out of the car, Josh, I don't mind telling you. The second we'll prepare for Baku, we'll fire up Wreckfest. So they're going to go on Wreckfest to get some good training.
That's certainly going to be a good simulation of what that race could end up turning into. Hopefully not, but anyway. So that's a preview of what we're going to see in 2 weeks' time. But remember to tune in tomorrow to the Super Cup, the Super Cup footage. So the live Super Cup race from the same circuit that you just witnessed this Formula Challenge race at. Also, the day after that, so the Thursday, we're going to have a Super League race, the main top category, and that's always very good. Last year produced a fantastic scrap between Baldia and Van Buren at this track. Of course, neither here today, but still, we're going to get a good race on Thursday. I believe we also have another episode of Scrutineer tomorrow after the Super Cup show. Am I right in saying that?
Sounds right, yeah, I believe so.
Good. So, if I'm right, tune into the Scrutineer rather, but after the Super Cup live stream tomorrow, and that's going to give you the updates on the updates for the Super League series. So that's it for today. I know I've kept my my cameraman Argo Tedar waiting a long time to end this broadcast, but I have to thank him for doing this for us. Of course, we couldn't have a broadcast without a cameraman. Menno, Klont as well for joining me here, and to everyone I interviewed. And I will see you next time in Baku.